Good morning, beautiful ones. I am joined here today by two of our fabulous authors of Birth New, which launches this Thursday, the 28th of April. It feels like it's been a long time coming. We've had Christmas and New Year's and everything in between, and we can finally get super excited to share this beautiful, beautiful book with you. So I'm going to invite Ashley, not Tim, but Ashley and Rachelli to join me this morning and just have a beautiful discussion about what has drawn them to this book, how the process has been for them, what advice they have for birthing people in the world right now, and anything else that flows from there. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope this inspires you to grab a copy of our amazing book this Thursday. So I'm just going to welcome the girls in. Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing, beauties?
Yeah, good.
Published authors.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
I'm really good. I always get super pumped. Like the week of launch, it's like go, go, go. I need to remember to hydrate this week.
Yeah. Do that.
So, Rachelli.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about you and what drew you into this book?
Okay. So I am 7 months postpartum and I am a doula. I have two children, two daughters. My first birthing experience was in the system nearly 4 years ago, and I experienced coercion, manipulation, feeling like came out having a really traumatic experience, and then found birth work and got into birth work and had my second baby at home with an independent midwife and had this amazing birth, but lots of stuff came up from that birth as well. And this book came up around the same time that I birthed my second baby. And before I birthed her, I was like, yeah, I can contribute to the book. And then I kind of pulled back. And then you, Laura, were like, are you sure? Like, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to write about. And until I wrote my chapter, I really didn't think I was going to write about what I wrote about. I wrote about both my birth and the memories in the muscle memories in my body that I experienced in my second birth, because I had no real memories from my first birth. So that was really difficult. There was lots of processing that I had to go through. And I'm very happy with my beautiful life and looking forward to having more babies outside of the system and not birthing in a hospital ever again. And maybe free birthing one of those future births. And that's it really. Don't know what else to share about myself.
I love that you decided to jump on this journey, because there's been a real transformation for you through this process too. Like, not just birthing, but then sort of finding you and finding, just taking time to really love and nurture and bring yourself back into a place of wellness. So it's been really beautiful to have share in that energy and sort of witness you coming into, I guess, that next version. We're all birthing ourselves over and over, right?
Every day.
And I love that you touched on, you didn't really know what you were going to write about particularly, and I think this is true for these types of anthology books too. When there's a specific intention, it's almost like each author has a piece of the puzzle to contribute, and once everybody's dropped into that space, it's almost never what you think you're going to be writing about, and quite often the thing that you don't really want to write about or that feels super vulnerable. And by going deep and sharing those super vulnerable stories, that's the thing that connects all of us, particularly as birthing people, specific to this book. It gives us permission to fucking get super real and raw with ourselves and be like, if this woman can do that, and if this woman can do that, and if this woman can do that, then maybe I can choose my own experience that's perfect for me. And I love that about this book. Like, everybody's just from the start of the process to the end, everyone's gone in thinking, okay, this is what I have to share, and come out going, fuck it, like hear me roar. So it's been really beautiful to hold that space, and I'm really, really proud of this beautiful book.
I'm
Ash,
very grateful for you pushing me. Sorry, I
hey,
just want to say, like, I'm really grateful for you pushing me, like being like, "Are you sure?" Like hitting my DMs, being like,
tickle.
"Come on."
Yeah, look, anybody that's like worked with me before, I just plant the seeds. Like I have, I hold the intention of the energies that I I need to create and manifest the intention, right? And then I just plant the little seeds, and sometimes you just have to go, fuck it, okay, Laura's a witch. Oh, Ashley, I'm gonna just take you off mute. There we go. Tell us a little bit about you and how you came into this beautiful world of publishing. We met very recently,
Yeah.
actually, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It was like just perfect divine timing. It was great. I mean, what better topic than birth? I don't know, really. It's just that's it. It's everything. So what drew me to the book was again, my births as well, and just that experience of birth. Like, just, I think women, I would love to see the shift in birth world and birth community where women actually take control of their birth and know their options and know their rights and all those things, and I think until you actually go through it yourself, it's kind of hard to tell someone. But what helped me through my second pregnancy was listening to Free Birth Society podcast, and just how empowering birth really can be if you take control of it and know your options. So like I have two babies, and my first birth experience didn't go to plan. Intended home birth, transfer, cesarean, which was heartbreaking. Still, I even cried to my husband last night saying, am I ever going to get over this? Like, yeah. And just, I don't know. And it just really shapes your entry into motherhood, really. And I don't know if we downplay it as a society of how much birth impacts us and our children, but it's huge. And so with my second birth, I really just sussed out my options and fired my midwife at 37 weeks and hired a new one. And I was prepared to free birth because I just didn't want that initial energy of my midwife up until 37 weeks. I didn't want her in my space. So anyway, and just how empowering that felt to take control, and really it shaped the outcome of my second birth. And she was born right here. And home birth VBAC, and it's possible. So I guess I just want to help women know that they can do it, and they don't have to follow instructions from the system and what they're told to be, what they can and can't do, because that's not true. So, and really tapping into intuition. So,
and I think we really are. I know with I was very lucky with my 3 pregnancies and births, but I still didn't use my voice. I didn't know that I was allowed to have one. I still felt very intimidated. I still allowed a lot of decisions to be made for me, and lucky in the sense that not a lot of intervention was required for my births. And so I came through those experiences relatively free from trauma. Of course, there's always going to be parts of that, and little fragments of trauma that need to be worked through, because it's a birthing. This is a huge thing that transforms us every time we do it. But there were certainly things, appointments that I had with specialists that I'd come away feeling so disempowered, so alone and unheard, and I'm yet to meet someone who hasn't experienced that in the birth world, and that's why this book in particular felt so important and kind of urgent. Like, come on, everybody, like we all have a voice. And when we begin to use that collectively, when we begin to know our rights, and have the courage to speak, to just to fucking speak up, and know that it's safe for us to do that and that we have every right to do that. It's just so important. And I'm so grateful that we have, so like, the authors in this book are just next level, and you're all so different. And of course, we've got the foreword by Jane Hardwick Collins, which is just juicy. Yeah, I know that this will continue to, inspire many birthing people for years and years to come. Do either of you have any advice? I mean, I guess there's been a bit of that sort of in your answers so far, but do you have any advice that you would give to, say, somebody birthing for the first time? What would be your best advice in terms of them collecting the knowledge that they need for an empowered birth?
Okay, go first.
I would just say, like, just knowing your rights and understanding. I think what I lacked in my first was the actual understanding of what normal physiological birth is and what that looks like. With my first, I labored at home for 24 hours. And actually, when they transferred me, my midwife transferred me, I was actually in transition. So if I think I held on, I probably would have birthed him at home, but I didn't know what those signs and what to look for. So I just freaked out and I was like, okay, let's transfer. Like, and if I had known that, when I experienced my second birth, that feeling of transfer, like that full, like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. That's actually when you're in transition. So had I had known that in my first, I maybe could have had a different outcome. So anyway, it's just that really educating yourself on what physiological birth is, what it, maybe listen to other women's experience of what that feels like. That, and that's probably my biggest tip.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think mine's the same. Like, education is so important, and not just going to the hospital classes. Like, the hospital classes are okay, but it's not enough, and it's not enough for you to learn what physiological birth is. They have their own policies at the hospital. So if you're birthing at the hospital and you go to their classes, they teach their own agenda. You need to educate yourself in physiological birth. So if you're in Perth, there's so many amazing places you can go. Like Vicky Hobbs, who contributed, she has Back to Basics, and there's Hypnobirthing Australia. There's so much stuff that you can do, but also talking really openly and honestly with other women about birth, people that have had different experiences of birth. Like, I was induced at 36 weeks with my first, and I had no idea what to expect, like, and I had done hypnobirthing, but it wasn't enough, because I was just like a sheep, being led to the slaughter at 36 weeks. My body wasn't ready, my baby wasn't ready, and that was so, and they coerced me into things and, lied about what needed to be done. And, and I've received my notes since. And, if I'd felt stronger, if I felt educated, more educated in myself, also more supported, if you feel that you're someone that goes into a hospital and becomes a yes woman, like, you do as you're told, you become a good girl. The doctor says you need to hop up on the bed now, and you say yes. You don't have to consent to anything. But if that's you, and that's who I was very much then when I was birthing the first time, I should have had a doula. I should have had that support, because I needed someone to remind me that I'm strong enough to say, no, I do not consent to that. And we are all within our rights to say no, but we believe that, we become very much the good girl when we walk into those hospitals, and we do as we're told by the doctors. So education, speaking to more people openly and honestly, and as women that have birth, we have to be, open and honest about our experiences to bring that out in others. I really believe really strongly that everyone can have an amazing physiological birth. It's just the support we have around us. So yeah, that's my advice.
Amazing. Thank you.
And say, on the flip sorry, on the flip side of that, I was 42 and 42 weeks and just had that like, didn't know that, you know, I was being threatened that if I waited much longer, my baby would die. So on the flip side, there's that time frame, you know, they time lots of boxes. You don't have to be in a box.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
some women go to 44 weeks, you know, like the pregnancy is different for everyone. We're just told 40 weeks is that cutoff date. And then they start scaring you that your baby's going to die. The placenta's going to not work and you're going to have a big baby. So we've got to get the baby out now because your baby's too big. You know, big babies are born every day naturally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear and control.
Fear and
Yep.
control.
Fear and control. Insert any system. Fear and control. Ash, did you? I'm going to sneeze. Here endeth our short interval while I sneeze. Ash, did you want to share a little bit about the writing process for you?
Oh yeah. So pretty much the same. Like I had gone into it with this expectation. I think I rewrote my chapter a few times. And it ended up being just totally different to what I thought it was going to be. So pretty emotional, like lots of stuff came up for me when I was writing it. And I felt it was quite angry with the first couple drafts, like just a lot of anger. I'm tired of hearing about women's experiences and just the treatment that's going on, and even my own treatment. Some of the things I wrote in my chapter. I think some of the people in this profession probably need to be held accountable at some point for their actions. But you know, and I think that's why it's good to be talking about it. You know, where I think most of the women in the book are from Perth. Is that right, Laura? But even in your own community, just to be speaking about, like, it's so important to talk about birth, because I think a lot of things go on that get swept under the rug and they're not spoken about. And I think those women really need to be just held accountable a bit. So anyway, the chapter I felt like I could have wrote more. I could have gone on, but yeah, it's good to have a cutoff, and it was really, really nice. It was really nice to write. It felt good to write it out.
And do you
Thanks,
think
Laura.
Oh, my pleasure. Do you think either of you would consider writing again in the future? I know that after I published my first book in 2017, I was like, oh, like this is a thing. Like I can share my voice and my message and you know, inspire, or you know, like it blew me away. And of course then I got a bit crazy with the book writing situation, and now I'm not going to stop. But yeah, like how has that been for you both? Like are you guys, you know, can you see how this modality of sharing and getting your message across can be so powerful and also healing for yourself?
Yeah, I always used to do blogs. And I love writing, and my mum, like, people always used to say to me, like, oh, are you gonna write a book? Are you gonna write a book? And then when I said, like, to everyone I'm doing this, they were like, yeah. And then when I did do my chapter and I got to the end, I actually had to stop really abruptly because I had more to say and I'd gone way over my word count, and I was like, shit. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do my own book. And like, yeah, so the idea of writing another book would be amazing. Like, definitely up there on my list. I haven't actually reread my chapter though since.
That's terrifying. It's terrifying. You know, once it's actually published, it's like that idea of, oh, people are actually going to read this, and then it's like, oh, people that I know are going to read this, and that's even more vulnerable. It's so funny, like the processes that you have to go through and sitting in the discomfort of somebody reading your story. Well, that's good. I'm glad we haven't seen the last of you.
No, I definitely want to write more. So
yeah, beautiful. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, it's a bit cringy to think about, like, people reading it that you know. But anyway, I kind of struggled with this whole idea of like my ego feeling like I need to talk about things, and like my like what makes my story so much more important, like not important, but like, I don't know, maybe you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's just like this ego struggle, like, oh, what makes it so important that I have to talk about it? Like, but it you know, when I, like I said, like when I listened to Free Birth Society podcast, I found it's so inspiring. Like it does matter. Like it's hearing their stories, it matters. Like, and it's so hugely empowering, like, to hear women speak about, you know, how they took control of those situations and are right. So yeah, I think I could write another book. Just depends. It'd have to be something like birth for me is like, that's it. Like it's something I am the most like I feel so strongly about and passionate about. And it'd have to be something really, really close to home that I'd probably dive into. But yeah. Yeah, it felt good once it's done.
Yeah. It's like you get the fuck yes, then you have the, you know, the turmoil and freak out, and then it's done and you're like, oh, I did the thing.
Did it. Done.
And you know that, you know, with work like this, that's so, you know, the intention is so clear, and that the energy behind it is so clear. It's only going to take one word to resonate with one person, Ash, and you've done your job.
Yeah.
Like you know, one person, one word, and their life's transformed.
Yeah.
There's no way this could fail. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, like same flip side, like there's some stories that really stuck out to me that like crying, like tears, like, wow, like, you know, so that I've listened to other women. And I think it's a time where we shift birth and we unite to work towards something bigger. So better.
Yeah. Hear me roar.
Yeah, it's time. So anyway.
So ladies, just before we close, who would you recommend this beautiful book to?
Go ahead.
Huh?
Yeah. Me?
You want to go first? Yeah.
Yeah, I can go. And probably anyone, really, like anyone, anyone, you know, like anyone that's around birth, anyone that's trying to unpack their birth, anyone that's looking to have a baby, birth workers. I mean, please read it. Please read this book, you know, like, yeah, I think that was probably it. Like, I think it's an important topic. Like, it's what's shaping people, the world, birth, how we're bringing people into the world. Like, that's huge. How women are experiencing that, it's huge. Anyone could read it. It's okay.
I also think it's important to get our partners to read things like this, and men in our lives to read things like this, because they don't know. Birth was women's business for a long time. Men weren't allowed in the delivery room for some time, and it's actually quite a recent thing to us that men are allowed, you know, like, but us, I guess we feel like that's normal, but it's quite new. And men, the conversations they have around birth are quite, you know, they talk about how it can be gross and, you know, you're not going to fancy your wife anymore and things like that. But I think having these real conversations with men is really, really important, so they truly understand what birth is. It changed my relationships. Both, I had my babies have different dads, and both relationships changed after the babies, one for the worse, one for the better. You know, like, it's, men need to read these books as well. Men need to read this book and read about what women go through, and, you know, read these stories from us that have birth and have had these experiences, so that they are able to support us when they are in the delivery room with us. I think it's really important.
Love it. Couldn't agree more with both of you. And let's just publish this flipping book and change some lives already. Thank you so much to both of you for taking time out on your Sunday to have a chat with us. yeah, Thursday morning, we will be live on Amazon and ready to rock and roll. I was hoping that I would have the first print copy in my hands this morning to be able to be like, yeah. But with Easter and like all the long weekends and just the way the postal system is at the moment, it's not, and that's okay. I hope you have a really, really beautiful long weekend, and you're going to be seeing my face popping up all week.
Great.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable, for sharing, for being here, for doing the work. I really, really appreciate you both.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. It's you that like started this, so thank you.
I just do what I'm told. Like the good girl, but different. Like in the conversation with the universe kind of good girl. Like
the witchy
you want me
good
to
girl.
do what now? Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for giving us a
you.
voice.
Mwah.